Okay, class, let's talk about making a selection. So part of your assignment, and one of the big things we do in Photoshop, is take one particular part of an image out of it and put it in another. So we're oftentimes going to be removing things from the foreground to put into another image. So let's take a quick look. There's many different ways to do this. I'm going to show you some quick ones and then some ones that I use most often. Probably the easiest one is to just take your marquee here, right here. It's the second one down, your rectangular marquee. You can also make a circle, like if you were going to have like an image of just someone's head in a circle, you could just go draw a quick selection, just holding your mouse down over Gary's head here. Remember to hold the shift key down to make the circle 100% proportionate. I'm going to then move that over a little bit just by using my arrow keys. And then I can simply hit Command C to copy that and Command V to paste. And you're going to see it created a new layer here with just Gary's head on it. So that's a great way to do it. Say you wanted to like put this on a website and then have Gary's name under it and then say he's the VP of blah, blah, blah. Essentially what I could do there is just, because it's in my clipboard, if I go File, New, it should already have that size there, which I'm not sure it does. I don't think it does, but essentially let's just do that again. So I'm just going to draw that selection one more time. Make sure you hold the shift key down. I'm going to go Command C. I'm going to go File, New, and it should have the proportions here. Yeah, here we go. I think this will do it. And if I hit Command V, there it'll paste them in here. So now if I wanted to like put, feature Gary as something on a website in a circle form, I could do this. I could simply, it's probably really big, so I could just go image size, take it down to maybe, 300 pixels, and you notice they're tied here. So, and then boom, there you go. And make sure if you want to keep that transparency in the background, you're going to want to save this as a PNG. Or an SVG. So if you saved it as a JPEG, it'll fill in the transparency around this. So make sure you save it as a PNG, or a GIF, but I would lean towards PNG so that you have the transparency maintained. But anyway, so that's the first way to make a selection, is just using the marquee. You could have also just used your square, but that doesn't really remove an object from the foreground, the foreground part of the image from the background. So the next thing you could do is right below the marquee tool is the lasso tools. And you'll see you have the lasso tool here, polygon lasso tool. Essentially, the lasso tool, you can just kind of quickly make a selection. That's a really gnarly one, but I could be a little more legit about it if I wanted to. But once again, my selection is not going to be that precise, and probably one I wouldn't use very often. I could use the magnetic lasso tool, which is the bottom one here, which kind of works a little bit better. And essentially, you click once, and then it will just kind of follow around the pixels that are similar in color, just using some computational math here. And you can put other points if you want, but essentially, it just kind of magnetically goes around to make that selection. And then you always want to end where you started. So you click once. Then if I hit Command C, Command V, I can see the selection I made here. Not too bad. If I got really tight on it, you would probably see a lot of different, it would be a little rough. But for our sake, it works. So you could use the magnetic lasso tool. Probably my favorite and the one I use the most often is right below that. So it's right here. It's the quick selection tool. So it's the fourth tool down right here, quick selection tool. And the great thing about this, remember to make your selection bigger or smaller, you can use your brackets, right bracket bigger, left bracket smaller, is that just by clicking and dragging over what I want to select, Photoshop will naturally do that for me. Remember, and so if I come in a little tighter and I use my space bar to kind of move this back down, I can see there's some things that it missed. So maybe I'll try to get a little more of his hair here. And it doesn't seem to want to be doing that because I'm on the wrong layer. Make sure you're on the right layer here. And so you can see it's starting to grab some of the image. So in order to get rid of that, I just hold my Option key down, click and paint what I don't want. And so that's not too bad. For the most part, I'm getting what I want there. So I could try to refine the selection a little more. But it looks like that's probably about as good as I'm going to get. So from there, once again, I could just Command C, Command V, and there I have another shot. Not looking that great, but you can see, sorry there, the different selections I've got. So this is my quick selection tool. This is my polygon tool, kind of very similar selections, but I mean, not bad, not bad. So I'm going to show you another way to go about this using masks, but these are ways that you can quickly make selections. So probably my favorite is that quick selection tool. From there, another thing that you are going to want to know is the pin tool. That's sometimes how I like to make selections too. The pin tool is a little more complicated, but that's another great way to go about it. Today in class, I'm going to show you masks, which is probably the best way to go about it. But let me just show you the pin tool, because this works as well. So with the pin tool, which is just located right here, or a P on your keyboard, if you click, you're going to click once where you want to start. And then the next selection you're going to make needs to be a curve. Now, if I just click again, it's going to give me a straight line, and that's not what I'm looking for. So just Command Z to back out of that. But if you click and hold the mouse and then pull, it'll allow you to make a curve. And I can try to match to Gary's head now. And then I'm going to put another point. I'm going to click. And my curve's looking okay there. And maybe another one here. I need to pull that out a little bit. So I'm going to come around the ear. Now, notice if I try to go over here, it's not going to work. It's going to give me a weird angle there. So in order, because it thinks that I want to go this direction, when in fact I want to come this way. So in order to go this direction, to kind of start fresh with my direction, I'm going to hold my Option key down and click right in the middle here. These are the Bezier handles. I just want to click right in the middle. And that's going to get rid of that point, giving me the ability to now make a new start. So I'm going to click, hold, pull, and match that curve. And that's looking pretty good. Pretty good. So remember, it's just a click, hold, and pull. And then you can kind of just mess with moving it around left and right to get your angle as best that you can. And there we go, click and pull. And then I'm going to come up here, click and pull. And then I'm actually going to get rid of this so I can start afresh here, just because I'm just going to try, because I got the curve coming up here in the face. Once again, I'm going to get rid of this as well. You never want to make too many points. You want to, kind of be a little selective, do as many as you need, but the more points you add, the rougher your selection becomes. So I'm going to click, hold, and pull. Got a little curve in the face there. And then I'm just going to keep going here. That was not the best, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to keep going. Click, hold, pull. Match that angle. I'm going to hit pull my Option down because I want more control over my next direction. And click, hold, and pull. And there we go. I have my selection. Now, I can refine this a little bit by coming over to my tools. And you'll notice here, below the T, which is for text, I've got a path selection or direct selection. I'm going to choose the direct selection. So I noticed here that this is a little off. So if I click that point once and then twice, I can kind of move that point down to get more of Gary's neck there. And then I'm going to hold that down. My hand, I'm going to maybe zoom in with Command plus. Maybe I'll grab this point, try to get it a little tighter. Maybe I'll move this point up a little bit. Maybe just get me a little tighter there. So the nice thing is you can kind of adjust these points too as you go. So there we go. That's a pretty good selection. So the next thing I'm going to do, and using the pin tool will help take out some of these kind of rough edges. But today I will show you the masks, which will even take out more of those. So if you go to paths, so you've got layers, channels, paths. Go over to paths. You'll see this dotted circle here, which is essentially to load a path as a selection, which we've done with the pen tool, is created a path. So if I click that, it'll now load this as a selection. One last thing here, I'm going to want to inverse that. So I'm going to go select, inverse, and then if I go back to my layers, I do Command C, Command V. Here you can see I've got a really nice selection with clean edges. Looks really good. So that's kind of just a start for you to think about selections. You've got the marquee up here. You can do circles or squares, select that way. If you do want something bigger. Also, you've got the magnetic lasso tool here. You could just do it freehand with the lasso tool or use the magnetic part of it. And then you've also got this quick selection tool. That reminds me of one last thing I want to show you here is the magic wand. The magic wand tool works great when you have solid backgrounds, like this turtle against this kind of solid blue. It's a little bit gradient, gets darker towards the bottom, but because I have a solid background here, the magic wand tool will select most of this color and make it easy for me to make this selection. So if I choose my magic wand tool and I click, it's going to get most of that. So essentially what I'm trying to do is pull the turtle out of the background. Then if I hold my shift key down, I can then add the rest of the selection. And then if I go to select, inverse, it's going to just select the turtle for me. So then I could go Command C, Command V, and then there I have a selection. Notice that it's a little rough around the edges, but I could go in and clean that up. Zooming in tight, and then grabbing my eraser tool, which is right here above the paint bucket. That's a little big, so I'm going to use my brackets to make it smaller. And just going to kind of try to erase some of that as I go through. And that's already looking better. So that's several ways for you to make selections.